Headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Let's talk to Toby Young. Toby, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, we've got a couple of things to talk about, not least the Wokism of the school system in this country, where what was formerly known as one of the greatest private schools in London, the American school, has been sort of denuded of its status and told to sharpen itself up because it's been concentrating on too much teaching of social justice.
Yeah, this school, which is one of the most expensive private schools in London, I think fees are £32,650 a year, and that's just the basics. That doesn't cover school meals, uniforms, school trips, etc. Right. It's been downgraded by Ofsted from outstanding to requires improvement. So it's fallen 2 rungs on the 4-rung Ofsted ladder, which is a pretty extraordinary finding. And the reason for this is that the school has been completely captured by the woke cult. Quite young children are essentially being taught the rudiments of critical race theory. After school, children are being segregated into different racial groups. So there are groups which the white children haven't been invited to because they supposedly are members of the oppressor class and would inhibit the children of colour from being able to speak freely. And Ofsted's report into the school, which was prompted by complaints from a number of parents who are worried about their children being taught this hard left ideology when they were paying nearly £33,000 a year, is really pretty eye-opening. So it said that, here's a quote from it, "Teaching places much more weight on the school's approach to social justice than on learning subject-specific knowledge and skills." And it said not everyone felt they were able to express their views freely in class. So children at this school have been self-censoring. If they in any way dissent, if they're not completely aligned with woke dogma, they've had to self-censor because the teachers have chastised them if they dare challenge this cult that all the teachers have signed up to.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I get the feeling as well, this is very much the tip of the iceberg, Toby.
Absolutely. It's curious, Mike, that the woke cult seems to have become more entrenched in independent schools than in state schools, which isn't to say that state schools have been left untouched. They just seem to be about 6 months behind the independent sector. I mean, Eton, for instance, has completely embraced a lot of this gobbledygook. Right. They've even got a full-time diversity, equity and inclusion officer, and she wrote a blog a couple of years ago in which she said she wouldn't rest until the Black Lives Matter flag was flying from above the entrance at Eton College. And the headmaster, Simon Henderson, is known to parents as Trendy Hendy because of his enthusiasm for all this gobbledygook.
Where is it coming from? I mean, I find it extraordinary because I don't know anyone really, and it may just be my own social circle. I don't really know anyone that buys into any of this cobblers.
Yeah, you may be in an echo chamber, Mike. I think.
No, I don't think I am. I have arguments with all sorts of people. I mean, I had a great argument with my 27-year-old son who lives in California and is a lot more woke than I'd like him to be. But, but he's not this mad.
I think, curiously, it's an ideology which is sustained by institutional endorsement. So often the people that work in institutions don't completely buy into the kind of equity, diversity and inclusion agenda, the need for unconscious bias training to send people on anti-racism courses. They think it's important that they should be seen to be signed up to this agenda, but in private, one-on-one in the pub, they can be sometimes a little bit seditious and heretical. But for the most part, I think the elite professional class, at least on paper, has completely signed up to this agenda, hook, line and sinker. And that's why I think it's more prevalent at youths.
No, you're absolutely right, because I think actually there's a lot of money to be made. Like most things that emerge out of nowhere, there are all sorts of groups and all sorts of consulting companies who will bring their marvellous message into your big business and make sure they set up a diversity network and make sure that all the senior management get to go on courses which cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. And that's going on up and down the land in a lot of companies where people I know work.
Yeah, I looked into that a couple of years ago and discovered that the kind of diversity training industry is an $8 billion a year business in the United States, and it must have grown probably at least twice in size since then. And it's growing really quickly here. You're right. There's a big financial motive, and one of the reasons, the people in the diversity business, diversity crats, you often find them now in HR departments, but in universities, even in schools. One of the reasons they maintain that Britain is a society beset by systemic racism, transphobia, homophobia, misogyny, is because that gives them the rationale they need to be able to train people to address these problems. So it's in their interests to make Britain and in America appear a much more difficult place to be if you're a member of a historically disadvantaged group than it really is in reality.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Good talk. Hot talk.
Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.